Hey guys, welcome back to Creating Creators Podcast. On today's episode, I had a chance to talk with Madison Bullock. Madison has a really great story and a wide variety of experience in creative industry. She shared her experience as a concert photographer as well as her experience producing and directing videos. And even shared her most recent role as a VFX project manager for Framestore. She lives in Birmingham but works remotely for their New York office. This was really a great conversation, and I think it's definitely one worth listening to. Check it out. Madison Bullock, thank you
Hello,
so much for being on the podcast today.
of
Uh,
course.
I've seen you and heard of you and seen some of your work for a while now, mainly because of Dustin Harrelson. You know,
hmm
I've been following him for a while, and have been a fan of his work, and have seen you as somebody that I guess like a collaborator professionally speaking, but a friend, I guess, personally speaking.
Yeah, that's my best buddy right there. Love him.
Nice. Well, he seems like a great friend to have,
Yeah,
both personally and professionally. I mean, he's obviously extremely talented. And from what I hear from him, he would say the same about you as far as being extremely talented. So, there's in some of the pictures you'll see, it seems like there's like this trio that I see often, and it's you and Dustin and Jacob. Uh,
hmm
Jacob is one that I've got to have on here at some point as well. I
yeah,
haven't gotten him, I haven't reached out to him yet, but you can go ahead and let him know that I will be reaching out very
perfect.
soon. So yeah. All right, well, let's go ahead and jump into just some of the questions that I have for you. So let's start off. Just you tell us a little bit about yourself. Who is the real Madison Bullock?
Oh goodness. Okay. Well, um, like the easy standard answers. I'm 23. I'm from Orlando, Florida. I moved to Birmingham to go to Samford, and then I ended up interning at Telegraph for a while, which is how I met Dustin. And then when I graduated, I went freelance for about a year, and I was working as like a freelance PA and like production coordinator just around Birmingham on commercial shoots. And then I worked at Big for a little bit, and right now I work at a VFX company called Framestore. They're
Yeah.
based out of New York. They do post production and finishing, and well, they do all kinds of things, previs and what have you. For the New York office is mostly commercials, but TV and episodic and movies and immersive and all that. So um, I work remote. I have a dog. Her name is June. I'm saying a lot. But yeah, I have a dog. I just moved apartments, so behind me there's like a whole bunch of boxes underneath this window that I'm cleverly concealing from the picture. But
Yeah.
yeah, I went to school for journalism. Didn't do anything with that. Went into advertising instead. But yeah.
Well, you touched on a lot of the things that I want to go sort of a little bit more in depth on,
Mhm.
because literally almost everything that I've got in this, you literally touched at least a little piece of. So
I was trying
um,
to give the relevant plot points.
yeah, I understand you did some video stuff while you were at Samford. Were you already involved in video production at any level before then?
I did photo for the like I did photography for the athletics department when I
Okay,
was at
that's what I meant.
Stanford.
Yeah, yeah.
So I took pictures of basketball and football and softball mostly. And then I was broadcast journalism. So I did like some video stuff for class in like production in that sense, but it wasn't a
Yeah,
very in depth program. So
I got you.
not
But
much.
has photography always been sort of I guess, a staple in your life, or is that something that you developed while you were at Samford?
Yeah, I really probably developed it at Sanford. I was into it. It was like one of those things I was into in middle school. And then I kind of fell out of it in high school. And then when I was at Samford, I got involved. They just were like, they came into one of my journalism classes and they were like, hey, we need more student photographers. Like, I didn't have a camera or anything, but I went and they like would give me one to shoot the games and like taught me. Like, that was where I learned really my like fundamental photography knowledge, was through doing that. Learned about all the settings and the triangle and how cameras work and stuff like that. Um, and then, yeah, I really enjoyed that. I really liked shooting athletics. And then I used that and some of my like class projects, honestly, to try to get my internship at Telegraph. And then there I was switched into like mostly fundamentals of video, but I was still doing photo. And then Jannard, who I know that
Yeah.
you interviewed, I met
Yeah.
him at Telegraph. He was like my boss. And I really wanted to go to the Glass Animals concert. And I asked him if he thought, but it was just like sold out. And so I asked him if he thought I could get a photo pass. And he had a photo pass for that concert. So he snuck me in as his assistant. And I shot that concert and loved it. And then got kind of connected with some of the other concert photographers in the area. And that's how I ended up shooting for Aesthetic magazine. Jones Willingham recommended them to me. They're like based out of Toronto. They're just like a music online publication.
Yeah.
But and then for a while I was shooting concerts for them pretty regularly, and that's when I feel like I got pretty solidified into being like a photographer, so to say.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say, like, the photography that I see on your website is it looks great. I
Thanks.
wonder with specifically with this stuff, these headshots. I'm assuming these are actual headshots, or at least like a. I know Telegraph does a lot. I think they did these things where they would do like a casual day
Graphic
where it was like
Friday.
that was it, Graphic Tee Friday. Yeah,
This
and
is from a
so
Graphic Tee Friday.
perfect. So did you like were you responsible at times for coming up with the the idea for these, or were they already predetermined and then you just had to take the photos?
Yeah, they would like pass them around to whoever had an idea. Sometimes we would just come up with like this I think was pretty random. We just set this up. Jannard really helped with a lot of the lighting, but like we had that disco ball and like we just knew that we needed to do something. Some of them were more specifically themed and you were supposed to wear like a specific t-shirt to them. But this one I
Right.
think was just random, just when we had time to like try to set something fun up. So like there's Jannard, he's fixing a light for me right there. But
He told me about I think the first time that he took you, maybe it was the concert you just referenced, but he said that a lot of times the pit, I think he referred to it as, which I have no experience shooting concert photography, but he said that a lot of times they're not very friendly places, that people don't usually communicate very much. At least has been his experience, it seems. But he said that day, whenever you were going with him, he sort of intentionally set like a really good mood before the concert even started, connecting with and talking to and being really friendly to the other photographers. And he said it was probably a really bad first experience for you because it sort of misled you into thinking, oh, all of them are going to be like this, but in reality,
well, I don't
maybe they're
know.
not. So,
I
well,
had
that's what
that
I was
wasn't
going to
an
ask is
example.
how. Yeah, I was going to ask how is it for you? How's it been in other pits, so to speak?
Yeah, it kind of depends. Like that one was a lot of fun. And like in Birmingham, a lot of them are the same. So like a lot of like the people that are regularly shooting Birmingham shows are like the same handful of people. So like you meet them, you follow them on Instagram, everybody likes each other's work, comments, like, and then you see each other at the next show and you're like, oh, hey, what have you been up to? Like chit chatting. But yeah, I've had pretty good experiences. I mean, I've definitely been to some shows where I've just like popped in, done my thing, and like popped out. You only have 3 songs. It's not like you have like a ton of time to hang out, anyways. But yeah, like I usually shoot here in Atlanta, and yeah, I went to like one concert in Atlanta where it was just a bunch of girls my age, and we all swapped Instagrams and talked. So I think it's probably as friendly as you make it, kind of like how Jannard was saying when he was very intentional about it. But it is also pretty cutthroat because like especially if the pit is crowded, you only have 3 songs and you need to try to like be conscious of each other and get out of each other's way and like give everybody a chance to get the shots that they need. So if you're not conscious of that, it can be annoying. But like,
You say you only have 3 songs. Is that like a standard rule that you're in the pit for a period of like a limited period of time, and then you got to get out and move, make
yeah,
room for others?
unless you work for the band, like if you're just there with a publication, it's pretty typical you get first 3 and then they clear you out of the pit. I think it's just so that you're not like in fans ways, like people who
Yeah.
waited all day for the show and stuff. And like then also every show you get like a free ticket to the very front row. Like and I don't know
Right.
how many of those they want to hand out. But um yeah, it's first 3 and then you get cleared out. At some like Saturn doesn't have a pit, and so like Saturn it's supposed to be first 3, but like you're shooting from wherever you can stand. So like usually nobody cares that you're still shooting because you're just wherever you camped out, you know. So like Saturn I always take like a longer lens than I would to like Avondale.
Yeah. That's cool. I mean, concerts are one of those things. I've seen a lot of photographers and video people cover concerts, and it seems like a really cool thing to do. But at the same time, it seems sort of it seems like it'd be difficult to get into. But it sounds like you had somewhat of a easy entrance to it. Is it easy usually to get those opportunities more and more?
It's easier if you can get picked up by a publication. Was trying to just like email bands and like marketing managers and touring managers, whatever, like individually, and I wasn't having a lot of luck with that. But I was lucky to have the Glass Animals pictures on my resume, and then I would shoot like local bands and stuff. Just there was a band, I don't know if they're still a thing anymore, called Zoo Culture that was like a local Birmingham band, and I like shot for them a couple times just at whatever gigs they were doing. And then I emailed all the I heard about Aesthetic from Jones, and they're small, like they're just a little publication. It's not like it's like Rolling Stones or whatever, but I like emailed them. They accepted my application, and now whenever I want to shoot shows, I just pitch them to the magazine and they handle getting me my passes and everything. So it wasn't too difficult to get into. You don't get passes for everything. I've been trying to shoot Phoebe Bridgers for years and I can't get a pass. Like you can't get passes for everything. And it's very last minute. Like I'll usually find out within 24 hours if I got my pass. So like there have been times where like I'll get approved for a show in Atlanta in like 3 hours, and I just have to like get up and leave. So I can't do it as much anymore now that I'm not freelance and I work full time.
Yeah.
Especially because like for publications, like the rule with Aesthetic was like you would shoot the concert that night and then you had to have your 20 like 10 to 20 selects uploaded to them by noon the next day. So now I'm kind of limited to like I don't have a ton of time to go shoot on like a Tuesday and then have all my selects done before I have to start work at like 8 a.m. on a Wednesday. But I still try to go to some. If there's someone who I really want to see, then I'll try to pitch it. And like they still email me. Like I haven't probably shot a concert for them in months, but they'll still email me. I guess I'm just on their email chain, but I'll get a message every month and I'll check and see if anyone's coming that I want to go see and put my request in. But
Is that something that you think is financially beneficial, or is it more of just, hey, this is more of a fans game kind of deal?
yeah, I've never been paid for it. You basically get paid with your ticket because then you can stay for the whole show. You just have to go like out to the crowd and you can't take any more pictures. Um, but yeah, I've never been paid for it. I think you can really only get paid if you're shooting for the bands, or like for the music. Like if you are hired to be a tour photographer. I don't know for sure. I've never really
Yeah.
like tried to make a bunch of money off of it. For me, it's always just been for fun. It started because I wanted to go to Glass Animals and it was sold out. And that's kind of still how it goes if I want to go to a show and it's sold out. Or if it's like an artist I really like and I want to be up close. Like
Well,
uh
that to me would be the most appealing thing, is just
yeah.
being like I mean, more than front row, really, because the pit's usually in front of the front
Yeah.
row section. So that's cool. That seems like, I mean, and it's a great portfolio builder. I mean,
Yeah.
the pictures. I mean, I don't know too many concert venues where it's like, oh man, that looks awful. You know, what I mean, that's sort of
Yeah.
the whole idea. Is it's supposed to be aesthetically pleasing. The lights are always incredible. That's neat. So you've been telling us a good bit about your journey. What I do want to hear is like what's your actual title currently, and going back to Big. From what I understand, you were a producer at Big. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, so I was an associate producer at Big. Right now, I'm a VFX production coordinator for Framestore, which is like a it's interesting. A lot of times, it's kind of like a step down from an associate producer. Like at my current job, my next promotion will be associate producer, but my like projects and responsibilities are much larger. So it's like I don't know if you've ever run into that, like talking to like Birmingham agency people, but like the small agencies will call you anything. Like
Right.
the titles in the creative world are just like a Telegraph had a lot of just like creative producers, and that could mean anything at
Right.
any level. So it's just kind of like I was an associate producer at Big, and yeah, now I'm a VFX production coordinator.
Okay, so do VFX yourself? Is that something? Because looking on your portfolio that's on your website, I don't see VFX stuff. Is that something that's in your repertoire?
No, not at all.
Okay.
I had no VFX experience before I went into this job, and now I could only talk to you about VFX. I know a lot now about VFX as a process and as a workflow, but if you were to ask me to like open Maya, I can't do that. But yeah, no, I don't know anything about how to actually do VFX myself. Sometimes I open up Premiere and I like run difference mats and like chop edits up, but that's purely internal checking. No one should ever send anything I've ever done in Premiere out the door. um, but yeah, we have a really so like at Framestore we have a really big network of artists, and each of them have their own responsibility. So my job is to coordinate them. So I basically, uh, we get the we're like last in the process, but we're also first because they need to know what they can get away with in post before they go to set. Working in VFX has given me a huge amount of disdain for the phrase "we'll fix it in post,"
Oh yeah.
because you would be amazed how many things people just don't do practically that would be so much easier for them to do practically and then like bring it to us. Like I worked on a Dell commercial and the like concept of the commercial was that this recipe was damaged. And so they had made a prop recipe and they had damaged it like on set. And then like after they got off set, they were like, we want this to look more damaged. And so when you tell us you want the piece of paper that he's moving around to look more damaged, we have to do camera tracking and we have to like get a designer to set up the paint. Like we're following along the movement. Whereas like could have thrown some more ink on that on set and called it a day. Uh,
Right.
or in like copyright things, like people will leave like CDs or posters or things and then be like, oh wait, can we paint that out? And I'm like, I know that this was a whole art department constructed room. Why would you put this in here in the first place? But it is funny, just like all the stereotypes are real about the we'll fix it in post, and you
Well,
never
and
notice until you're the one until you're post, and then you're like, oh,
I
yeah,
mean, removing like a logo, or I've recently been asked to remove like some name tags,
yeah,
like something like that's can be really simple on a short clip, but if
yeah,
you're talking like an extended clip, or if you're talking about a bunch of those kind of things, that can get really complicated. Or I've seen some of the stuff that frame. Sorry, what was the? I did the thumbs up thing. Frame Store, yeah.
I'm
So
sure.
I did want to look at Frame Store, but the stuff that I've seen from them, that like they're not. This isn't just simply like that kind of VFX. Like it's not
Oh
just
yeah, no,
simply removing stuff. This is One of the things that I think I saw just today, was it this commercial? Yeah, this commercial. I guess it's a Publix commercial where they walk through the flowers and the flowers are all moving and expanding. Like that's some intense VFX stuff, not just
Yeah.
simply removing some stuff.
No.
Um, but at the same time, I can imagine like even the lighting, whether it was or wasn't, I'm not sure, but the lighting in this could have been done in like in camera, but then also the lighting could have been said, oh, let's do it in post. And that's a whole lot more work, I can imagine, at least for one
Yeah.
guy sitting at a computer.
The example, so I work, the majority of the commercials I've done in the year that I've been there have been Geico commercials, specifically the
Yeah.
ones that have the gecko in them.
Yeah.
And so the gecko is a great example compared to like some of the other spots that I work on of like the whole VFX process. Cause like oh, am I losing you? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah. I can hear you.
Okay, cool,
It's
cool.
okay.
Um, but yeah, so the gecko is like a great example of like the whole VFX process because we send our creative director on set as a shoot soup. He has like a little, we have a 3D printed like gecko stand in.
I
They
want to see those shots. I want to see.
I, I will show
Yeah.
I'll show you some pictures afterwards because he's
Okay.
like real. He's a little 3D model, he's painted to be realistic, and you set him in, and so then like they'll take a shot with him in it, and then with like the balls and charts, like the Macbeth chart, and
Right.
then they'll shoot a clean plate, um, and then we'll use the clean plate to put our gecko into, but we'll do string outs of all the tech plates that show us like you use the stand-in gecko for size and then also like for how light should be interacting with him. So then like the lighting team takes the reference in the tech plates from the stand-in and the like balls and charts and like they use that to light the 3D object that we're putting into space. But like and they kind of like are in communication with us when they're finalizing their scripts because like there are some things that are easy to do in VFX and there are some things that are really difficult to make a CG lizard do. And so if they need to have all their spots by a certain time or under a certain budget, like they'll talk to us in advance and be like, what can we do to like reduce costs here? Or, like what's the most efficient way to do this? And then they edit, they send us, we reconform on our side. So we have an editorial team that builds the spots back out from the edit house. We publish the plates that are going to have VFX work on them. And then the animators will start rigging. Usually our creative director, his name is Will, he's great. He'll do videos of like anim ref for how he wants the gecko to move. Um,
Who gets to stand in for the gecko at that point and actually do the movements?
yeah, it's Will. It's our creative director, Will. He is secretly the gecko. But
That's
he'll
funny.
and it's funny because he'll record these videos in his apartment and he'll try to have like whatever prop he can find for scale. So like there's one where like the gecko is supposed to be like flipping a pencil around and he has like a drumstick and he's trying to do like the but the animators will start by taking we have just like a base rig of the gecko. They'll so it's not textured or lit, it's just kind of like the base CG object. They'll rig it to match, they'll start it in step, which is very like hi, like back and forth like this,
Right.
just like very robotic. And then when they feel like they have the beats timed out well in step, they'll move it to spline, which is like now you're smooth and moving. Then they'll fix little tech issues in spline so that it all transitions. And then usually about that point, in a perfect world, animation would be completely done and finished, and we would move it to lighting. Because then the lighters will take your like smoothly animated, wonderful gecko and match. They'll do the texture and the look dev with the scales. They'll match the lighting to whatever environment they're in. So like we did one where he's like in a space station, and so he's very like blue and orange and like and the gecko is such a specific character. There's so many rules about how the gecko moves and looks and like things that the gecko would do or wouldn't do. There's like very specific greens that he always needs to be. Like there's very like he's a very intentional character. And so there's like a lot that you have to be very like weird details that like it's for so long the artist would be like, oh, his like toe is curled too much when he takes this one step, like it's too reptilian, like we need to like flatten the where you're like, how are they catching this? But then the more you do it, you're like, oh yeah, his tail is moving too weird that way, should be dead weight, like. But there's lots of little things. And then if you have background replacements, you'll have a DMP artist working on those, and then comp are the ones who, like, the compositors are the ones who like really bring it home. They're the ones that are going to do all of your screen replacements, they're going to do all your cleanup, they're going to paint everything out, they're going to change the color of things. Like, if we have the gecko lit and then we get graded plates back and he doesn't look right anymore, comp will fix that and get his true color back. And they'll do all of the like tech fixes. They'll make him, they're like the finished polishing. They can do anything. I call them
Yeah.
comp wizards like all the time. And I still like never have a good sense of like what is easy for them to do and what is difficult. Cause like I'll get a request and I'll be like, no way, no way. And I'll like go and I'll be like, how many days will this take you? And they're like, I can do that in an hour. And I'm like, oh my gosh, no way. But yeah,
What
comp is.
are all of those different, I guess, stages all
Mhm.
employed through Frame Store?
Yeah, so we have people in like all of those different departments. Sometimes we work with freelancers, but like we have all of that in house. So like me and my senior producer PJ, when the project comes in and we get scripts, we'll bid according to the scripts and we'll set up like a crew chart. We'll send it to Framestore's crewing department. They'll start putting pencils on the crew that we're going to need for the time we're expecting to need them. And so like we can go onto this software and see our crew boards for the next couple months and like see who all of our internal people are, like whoever's on staff, we can see what projects they're assigned to. A lot, like most of our all of our leads are on staff. And then we have like a regular rotation of freelancers that we'll contract on if we need extra help on like big projects or if we have a lot of projects in house at one time. But we'll plan out in advance and then we work with our crewing department if like we've hit some kind of snag or we need something faster or whatever, we can message them and try to get holds on designers or whatever. But yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It sounds like a huge organization, and from what I understand, they've got locations all over. I think it was their website, maybe that.
Yeah. New York, London, LA, Chicago,
Yeah,
Mumbai, Montreal. I think that's
yeah. Yeah, it seems like they're just all over. Yeah, here they are: London, Montreal, Vancouver,
Vancouver.
Chicago, L.A., New York, Mumbai, and Melbourne. So
Melbourne.
Australia, yeah,
Yep.
yeah, they're all over, and I can imagine, especially at times when like some of those places are big movie hubs, obviously,
Mhm.
and so like you mentioned about having somebody on set is probably really important. But here you're working from what I understand you work from home in Birmingham.
Yeah.
Is that a barrier, or do you feel like that's just sort of the way that the industry is right now?
It is just kind of the way that it is right now. I mean, like, so I work for the New York office. I've worked on a couple jobs like cross office with Chicago and London, just depending on like when we need different time zone help or whatever. But yeah, I've worked on projects like with Chicago and London. And usually, like, it's not really an issue for me because usually the only people that need to go to sets are like higher up people, anyways, like the supervisors and like the more senior producers. But most of the stuff that we do for Geico shoots in LA. So, like, even the people who live in New York aren't local to those shoots. You're usually traveling to shoot anyway. Same thing in London. Like, they might be finishing a commercial in London, but shooting it in like Japan. So, like, everyone just kind of goes where the shoot is. And a lot of clients don't want to do in person sessions. Some of them do. If you have enough advance, you can go up and like I've never done an in person session before, but like because when you take Geico, like the agency that represents them, the Martin agency, they're not in New York. Geico headquarters is not in New York, so like there's not usually anybody who wants to travel to New York to do it all in person on those clients, but it is nice. I try to go up once a quarter. and like go work from the office for a week. Their office is on Wall Street. Great views, free bagels in the morning. It's nice. It
It
overlooks the water going to Jersey. You can see the Statue of Liberty from like the break room. Uh,
That's really cool. It seems like this kind of a company would be, I mean, in a lot of people's cases, sort of like a dream opportunity. Has it been that for you? Was this something that you always aspired to? Like, how did you go about even sort of getting this job?
yeah, so when I worked at Telegraph, I met Catherine May.
Yeah.
And she was my like producer mentor at that job. And like I interviewed with her. I talk about this all the time. She's probably so sick of it, but I interviewed with her and I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was like still in school for broadcast journalism. I originally wanted to be a like a political reporter. Like I wanted to do news. But I needed an internship and I was supposed to go to DC for the summer. Uh, and because of COVID, they wouldn't like I was supposed to be in some program that would send me to DC for the summer, and then because of COVID, I couldn't go in person. So I still needed an internship in town. I reached out to Telegraph. I met Kat, and we like did like a lunch interview, and we were just talking. And she said like she just kind of looked at me and was like, "You should produce. You'd be really good at producing." And I was like, "Okay, I don't know what that means." So then I had that internship with her, and like a couple months into me working with her, she got a job at a big agency in New York called Droga 5. And so she left Birmingham and went to New York to work at Droga. And I stayed in touch with her. I was like learning how to do a lot more. I was definitely niching into producing because there was a bit of a gap between when she left and when they like hired a new head producer at Telegraph. So like I was kind of like taking on a little bit more responsibility in the interim and like staying in touch with her. And then I graduated early from Samford. I was working a lot and my like broadcast journalism class had gotten like my concentration had gotten merged with like the print classes, so like I wasn't doing a ton of like in studio like production. And so I graduated early. um and I was applying for jobs and internships in New York. I applied for like a couple in LA. There was a job I was trying to get at Droga, but they took the posting down before I graduated. But I was just like wanted to work anywhere. I wanted to work at like a big company, and like work on big jobs. I didn't really know specifically, but like I would get the Ad Age Top 100, and I would cold call like the whole list and just be like, "Hi." And that led to like some interesting connections. None of them quite panned out into like sustainable enough opportunities for me to like move anywhere, but like got in touch with a lot of people. I was just like really on LinkedIn. I was setting up informational meetings with people. Like I was just talking to people whenever I could. And like that was really great. Like I really recommend that. That was how I met Kristen Dober, who's the producer at Big.
Right.
She kind of like gave me a good amount of reassurance about freelancing. So when I graduated, I just started freelance as a PA. And even then, I didn't really know what I was doing. I like would PA for Kristen, and I reached out to like Diego, and like I would go to South City and just be like, "Hey, can you just show me how to like put together a camera?" Like I would just be like, I was just kind of going around to whoever and being like, "Can you show me what you do? How do you do this?" And then they would show
I
me, and I would be like, "Cool, great, thank you." But I always came back to producing, and that stuck. Producing and then like photography for fun. Uh, but I liked producing. I felt good at it. And then I worked at Big for a while, and I don't know. It sounds so stupid, but I just wanted to do big projects. Like I wanted to be in the big leagues. And so Kat had left Droga and gone to Frame Store. And one summer she like sent me she like sent me a application and let me know that they were hiring coordinators, which is like their entry level job. And I was like, okay, cool. And the cool thing with Frame Store too is like I work in advertising right now, but they have so many departments. Like like I mentioned, like they do film and episodic and immersive, and like I'm kind of overlapping on some projects into immersive. My boss PJ, she does a lot of immersive jobs, and I'm really interested in those, so she can like transition me into those. But um, yeah, there's the immersive department. I haven't gotten to do too much, but it's very like, like the volume is kind of an immersive
Right.
thing. Ride experiences, apps, any sort of like installation that you go to would be like an immersive thing. Um, a lot of the film and immersive stuff comes out of London. They have like a lot of the ride systems and stuff happen in London, but New York is doing a good amount of it too. But yeah, I interviewed and they hired me and it's been great. I really love it. It's a lot more work than I've ever done, like ever. Like I'm taking an hour right now. I'm in the middle of like a huge project that like I've been working like 4 weekends in a row and like through the night on.
Wow.
And that's like, not always fun. I'm very tired. But the team is really great. Like I know that New Yorkers get a reputation for like not having that southern hospitality, but like everyone is so nice. Most people are like such team players and everyone is so smart and so creative and just like very funny and very real and like you connect really easily with your team and it's really easy to pull late nights and weekends and get stuff done with them. So like I might like hate a job because it's like taking forever or like we're getting annoying feedback or like I'm working a lot, but it's never escalated to the point where I'm like, I hate my like, we talk about like capital and lowercase j jobs. Like I
Yeah.
might have like a project that is really frustrating to me. Like the one I'm on now, I'm ready to be done with it. And then when it's out in the world, I'll be like, look at that. But it's time for the next. It's just I'm a little tired of this one, but like I'm still excited for the next. Like I'll go on to another job with PJ after this, and like I haven't worked with her in a while, and like you get to know different people that work in different departments, and like it's fun to have them on your team when you can get them, and like you make a lot of connections through each job, and like I just had such a great experience with everyone that I've met, and like it's just been they're so wonderful, and it's fun. You really feel like being, and I've talked about this. Sorry, I'm kind of rambling now, but
You're
like
good. You're good.
I've talked about this with some of my friends because like I came from agencies and then going to Frame Store that's a lot more of like a vendor. It's fun getting to work directly with the creatives instead of like at bigger agencies you're working with like your internal creatives but you're organizing all of your vendors to just like kind of have things happen how you want them to. But it's great being able to like work really specifically with the artists because they care a lot about their work and they're so good at it and they catch little details that like you would never notice and they can just like pull off so many cool things. And so it's fun to kind of just like be on this united front with your artists of like managing requests together and managing timelines together. And like obviously, like I always really want to protect my artists. So, but I mean, I can't fend off like every unreasonable request in the world, but like I really love working with them and I take very seriously like their work and their time. Um, and it's just great because yeah, I feel very involved in something which, as I discussed earlier, I have no idea how to do at all.
That's well. I think what you were saying earlier, well, really all through this part about the connections and the people you get to work with, and then if you take it all the way back, even to the beginning of our conversation, the three, I guess the trio that I spoke about earlier between you, Dustin, and Jacob. I mean, that's what so much of this work is all about.
Yeah.
It's not always the final product. I mean, the final products are great, and we want to create things we're proud of. But even more than that, it's like the team that you get to create it with.
Yeah.
I've worked by myself on a lot of projects, and I've worked with people on projects. Working with people and especially people that you really enjoy being around is always the best route to go.
Yeah. And it's cool. This is like, so remember being excited about this too. This is like the first company I've worked at that they've had like a whole production department. Cause like at agencies, like I had Kat and then I had Kristen. And like that was just kind of how you had like kind of a one on one mentor, but your whole department is like just the two of you. It's been really interesting. We have a lot of producers at all levels. So like I have peers, there are senior producers, there are executive producers. Each of their roles look a little different. I interact with like a lot of them because it's like a coordinator, I'll get put on different producers' jobs, or like sometimes I'll run like small jobs by myself. But like you get to see their styles, you get to see how they interact with clients, how they keep things organized, and like then when you're on a project, you have like a whole network of other people that you can gut check things with and like run things by. And it's just been like such a great learning experience to be able to like watch people work and be able to like try to find the right ways to support them. Um, and then implementing those in like, because like I'll help one producer and they'll want things done this very specific way, and so I'll take that on and I'll do it this way, and then I'll go to like another job with another producer who doesn't really care that much, so I'll still keep doing it that really specific way, and they'll be like, oh, this is cool, thanks for doing it this way. And I'm like, so it's just fun, like you it's fun to become like an amalgamation of so many people that you really like and respect,
Yeah.
um, and you get to carry that through. But yeah.
Well, I mean, that's all. That's the learning process of any job. I feel like is if you can see somebody doing something that ends up benefiting them or benefiting the product, then you sort of borrow that from them, and eventually that becomes part of you. And I mean, it might look like copying initially, but after a while, you're copying so many different people. It's this new recipe that's now your version of doing it.
Yeah.
But that's cool. That's cool. Well, I do want to talk about some of your work, your local
Okay.
work, and specifically, I would love to know some of your sort of roles in what you do. I love the hello. Let me pull it up while we're talking about it. The last call baking.
Yeah.
This video was just such a fun. It's hello. I don't want the audio. I don't want the audio going through, even though the audio is incredible in this. But this video, I know Dustin Harrelson did this sort of as a spec ad, from what I
Yeah.
understand. But talk with me about what your role in this video was. Not just the fact that you make a cameo in it at the end, but what was your role in this?
Yeah, I helped produce this. Eliza Moe directed it. She's great. This was kind of like her brainchild. Her and Dustin got together. Eliza directed it. Dustin was the DP. They like put together their whole plan. Um, I'll just say that I helped produce it because I really feel like Eliza did a lot of the bringing everyone together of it. But I got some people together. I kind of was doing like an AD role on this, kind of like I was doing some scheduling. I made the shot lists, kind of like I was kind of just filling in holes on this one, like wherever Eliza needed help. And then yeah, I made my little cameo at the end there. But yeah, trying to like get everyone together, keep everyone on track, um, and just if Eliza wanted a second opinion, I took pictures on this for them to have, but yeah, I was just
Well,
this one was just one where I was around with my friends to help. A lot of my local stuff is that where like I just am around to help however people need.
Well, like you said, though, I mean, even in your job now, by being around those people and working with them, there's things that you pick up on from these people that end up you're able to carry that forward in your
Yeah.
other work. How would you say that's been with, especially considering your close group of friends? How's that been as far as like working with them, maybe even learning from each other, and then carrying that forward to your career now?
I mean, it's great. Dustin and Jacob are like some of my best friends. They're my best friends. And they joke with me sometimes that I'm like their manager because whenever they have freelance work or like contracts or whatever, they'll like have me read them or they'll ask like random production-y questions. I'm like, oh, you need a this and a this and a that. But they have so many good ideas and they are so fun to work with and they're so open-minded to like collaboration and they just really enjoy making things and like so much of so much of producing is just like getting creatives to make things in a channeled way. like being like, okay, I'm going to put on the calendar that we're all going to come here on this day. I'm going to make sure that you have like a location, and if you need props and if you need talent, like we'll get it all together, you know? And for local jobs, like that can be anything. Like sometimes I'll be the talent, I'll be the second, like I'll be B cam, I'll hold their bag, like I'll just be around for moral support. Like whatever they want to do, I want to come, and then I do whatever they need me to do. Um, and I think it's interesting. I mean, just like Frame Store is such a different world than any other world I've worked in, because in a lot of local jobs, you wear a lot of hats. You can't really wear a lot of hats at Frame Store. You kind of have to wear your one hat, um, which is honestly I enjoy it. You don't have a lot of time to wear other hats, but it's nice just getting to be creative and like do whatever with my friends. That's not a great answer, but
No, I think it is. I think I mean, Dustin and I actually talked about this one,
yeah.
but there it is again. I don't know if the audio comes through on your side, but I'm trying
Oh
for it
no.
not to come through on my side. That one won't let me. It won't let me turn off the, the audio on it. But anyway, I always forget how you say the name of these sodas.
Oh, Juaritos.
Haruto, hang on, say that again.
Juaritos.
Haritos.
It's like Jarritos,
Right.
but the J is like an H
Okay.
sound.
All right.
Juaritos.
I feel like I'm saying what's the anime? My son used to watch it all the time. Uh, Now anyway, I'm getting off into things that I need to stop talking about because I don't know how to say them. But anyway, the when Dustin and I talked about this, it was really cool. I mean, just this whole again like friends coming together. No one got paid. If anything, it cost everybody time and money.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like y'all were able to create something really cool, and you were able to just spend time together. It's I almost equate it to back when your kids like your mom might plan a play date for you and your friends to be able to get together, and it's almost like doing that as an adult. But at the same time, you're like honing your skills, sharpening your craft, and y'all did such a great job with this video. It's beautifully planned and then executed. With this in mind, I would imagine there was a lot of coordinating, if nothing else, just getting these people and the even the clothing that they're wearing to some degree.
Yeah. So now this is funny. I directed this one.
Right.
I produced this one. Honestly, Jacory kind of produced this one. When you work with friends, you all kind of produce it a little bit, but like this was one that came from. I mean, I'm sure you already heard the tale from Dustin, but he wanted to shoot at this like soccer court that we
Yeah.
had found. Um, he wanted to do Gatorade. I said no, it's been done. We need to do something weirder. Um, just was like wanted to do something fun and colorful and like interesting and like use the colors of the court instead of like what the court is for. Like I was trying to use the court aesthetically instead of practically. And then I shouldn't call him Corey, I should call him Show, but Show knew these people who roller skated.
Yeah.
And
Is it like are they roller derby or just roller skating in
roller
general?
skating.
Okay.
I think there are at the time there were people that would go to Railroad and roller skate around there like certain nights of the week. I'm not entirely sure like where he knew all these people from, but they all just like recreationally roller skate, and are good at it and can like dance around and do tricks and stuff. And so like these people didn't really know each other. Just kind of like found them and were like, hey, you want to be in a video? And then gave them kind of like mood boards for their outfits. We had color schemes. Dustin went and bought all these props. Like we just kind of very much had like a vibe in mind. And like we shot listed it, but a lot of it just kind of came in the moment, which I think Dustin is always trying to work on refining his pre-pro process more. So like this is one that when we got into the edit, we were like, oh, we should have had a clearer picture of what we, because what should have been like a 30-second ad has become like a minute and a half montage about this like Mexican soda brand just because we shot so much stuff that we liked. Um but
It really is one. I mean, especially for a spec ad, it's one of the most beautifully colored pieces I've seen.
Dustin
Mainly,
Harrelson is a colorist.
well, that's
Hire
true.
him
That's
to
true.
be your color. He refuses to say it. As his manager, I will say it for him right now. Let
Yeah,
Dustin Harrelson color.
he does a really incredible job. But also, I think, I mean, there's a lot of it. I would imagine even on set that a lot of this stuff just looked beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, the everything from the clothing to the court to the skin tones, to the props. I mean, obviously the drinks themselves are very colorful. It really is a great video.
No, it's
And
great.
and I
Jacob
think,
did some great film photography from this day too.
yeah, it's a good one. It really is probably my favorite thing that I've seen from him. Even though I mean, the Last Call Bakery
Yeah.
also is incredible. That one makes me want to go. I've been telling my wife for a while that we've got to go downtown to that bakery
You gotta
specifically.
go. It's
The
so good.
the the thing that you're eating there at the end, I want that.
It's
I
delicious.
want to have it all over. You know, like I'm going to be wearing it by the time I get
Yeah.
done. Like it looked amazing. So.
No, it's great. Maybe get there early if you're going on a weekend, but
Oh, really? Do
oh yeah,
they sell out quick?
there's lines.
Okay. All right. I'm going to have to get out there. Okay. I do want to talk about this and I do want to be respectful of your time. I know you said you have an hour. We're down to like 50 minutes right now. So tell me about your dog. I mean, I see this dog obviously populate your social media quite a bit. It's a cute dog, obviously a very safety conscious dog with the glasses for the solar eclipse. So
Yes.
tell me, what was your dog's name? June?
Yes, this is
June?
June.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had her for 3 years now. Her gotcha day was just like last week. But she's just a rescue. She's from the Greater Birmingham Humane Society. I was still in college when I got her. My roommate and I were living in our first like off-campus apartment,
Yeah.
and we both had summer jobs. And I wanted a dog, and so we went to the shelter. We saw her. I don't. She was 8 months old when I got her from the shelter. I don't know much about her. She was an owner surrender with like a couple other dogs. Her name was Ashley. I was like, it's a really weirdly human name for a dog, so I'm gonna change it.
I can't
Um,
say anything. My kids named are. She looks like the tramp from Lady and the Tramp. Our dog does, and she was found on the side of the road, like in a litter. That was the only one that survived the litter.
yeah.
So anyway, but my daughter named her Debbie. I'm like, that's not a dog name, Debbie. But
Now, see,
that's
that's kind of funny. But Ashley was just like the other dogs that she was surrendered with had like human names. Like there was like a Maggie and like, but I was just like, Ashley is just so not a dog name. And she just really
yeah,
didn't give me Ashley vibes. So we changed it. But uh,
June.
June,
I like it.
named
Hey, it's
after the month
fitting.
I got her.
There you go. It's fitting, you know. I
Yeah.
think maybe we should name all of our even children like that. You know, just the month they're born. I
Yep.
have with twins that would be problematic. I have September 1 and September 2, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. And then June, you could call her Junebug, Junie B.
Yeah,
Jones. You get a lot of options.
yeah. We go with Deborah with Debbie. When
Love
she's
that.
in trouble, her name is Deborah at
Deborah.
that point. So yeah, yeah. You can be mad at a Deborah pretty easily.
Yeah. Yeah.
Debbie's a little bit harder. Well, June is cute.
Thank you.
And I always like when I see a dog populate somebody's feed often, I feel like I've got to bring that in just out of respect for the dog itself. So, all right. So I want to ask you, what advice would you have? Like, what's the best piece of advice, maybe that you've received or that you would give somebody? I mean, this can be related to producing. It can be related to creative industry in general. It can be related to life in general.
Yeah. The first thing that came to mind, and then I think is kind of applicable. Kat told me this on the last job that I worked with her on at Frame Store, that apparently her old boss said to her, and it's you have to have an ounce of confidence. So you just have to, at some point, be comfortable taking the reins. Um, it's hard when you're kind of coming up in the creative industry, especially in like a coordinator role, because like your job is really to like help and assist people get jobs done the way that they want to get them done. So I always had this concern of like, I think I know how I want to do this, but I don't know if like I want to be respectful of their process, and I don't know if this is like the right way to do it. But being able to like put yourself, like, to me, I would take that and I would translate it and be like, the best thing you can do in your career and like in your life in general is to put yourself out there, like, and not just in like a networky kind of way, but like the most, like, I feel like this is such like a millennial thing that I do, and I will feel no shame about. I'm not a millennial, but I'll feel no shame about this. I send so many gifts at work, like all the time. I have a gift for like every reaction. Like sometimes we'll communicate in like a bunch of gifts. Like just like being able to like put yourself out there and like have fun with your artists and like with your other producers and like relax a little bit. Like that's the one thing I've always like loved about Frame Store is like the stakes are so high and it's so stressful all the time and nobody acts like it. Like obviously you get stressed, but like nobody is acting like it's the end of the world ever, which I love. But everyone's very confident in themselves and their work and their abilities and confident in their team. Um
I'm going to interrupt you real quick because
yeah.
I think confidence is one of those things that because you said that she said to like you got to have an ounce of confidence. I think I think it's one of those things that if you can just exercise a little bit of confidence, the next time you do it gets easier and easier and easier because it's one of those things that I guess we're never really confident we can do something until we just step up and do it.
Yeah.
And oftentimes I think the fear of failure ends up preventing people from ever taking that first step, and that ounce of confidence just pushes you out the door almost.
Yeah, and like I would apply it too to when I was in my like cold calling LinkedIn phase. Like I would just find people whose work I liked and I would message them and ask them to set up like informational meetings and like I met this director who lives in London who does car commercials and he sent me like some of his example treatments and like talked me through his process like just totally out of the blue random. We never spoke again. Like but it was great. Like
When you say informational, what was this just sort of like you reaching out to learn from them?
I would literally just message people and I would be like, "Hey, I like your work. I'm trying to do X, Y, and Z. Would you have time to like set up an info meeting to like talk about your career and your process or like about this specific project? Just want to hear your insights on it." And I talked to like some producers in Atlanta. I talked to that one like random director. It's just like whoever would get back to me. But it's nice because you kind of like expand your network and you hear about different people's processes and you get to like it can like go as far as you want it to like if
Yeah,
once you get in touch with people, but it's that same thing of just like you get the most out of the world by interacting with it. And like I try to do that in my personal life too. Like I try to go to things and do things and like and if anything is kind of like strange or weird, I like would like to be involved. Like and that's just like I mean, and then that's the great thing about like having friends who are creative because they'll want to do stuff and you'll be like, okay, cool, let's go do it. Like
yeah.
and you just figure out how to set that up and there's no egos in that and like you really figure out through your separate mediums and like your strong suits how to make each other better. Um because like I like with Dustin, like I might have an idea for a shot and I can describe it to him and he'll set it up and then I'll look at it and I'll be like, no, it's not right. And like you figure out this like dialogue of like he knows technical things that I don't that can get to like where I want to be creatively. And like same thing with Jacob and photography. Like I ask him for photography advice all the time when I'm shooting concerts. Like I've texted him mid concert and be like, I'm getting a rolling flicker. Help. Like, he'll tell me, be like, shift your settings to this, this, and this thing. Like, but it's just nice having friends that like you trust and who kind of like speak your creative language and who are like willing to go to new places with you. Like with the spec thing, like Dustin wanted to do a Gatorade commercial and I was like, "No, I want to do something different." And like he was like, "Okay, cool. Let's do that." Like so it's just fun whoever has an idea being able to just like everyone just being very willing to be to go there and do that and be confident about it. And so that would be my advice. Just put yourself out there.
I like it. I've
Do more.
this podcast. I've sort of it's been sort of a proof of concept for that very
Yeah.
idea. Because I reached out to people like Aaron Wilhite and Dustin, and I mean that was sort of like early on who I talked to, and just recently I was talking with Kristen Dober,
Mm-hmm.
and when I was talking with her, she said this morning or that morning she had been talking with Seth Newell,
Mm-hmm.
and her and Seth were talking about me and this podcast. And I told her, I said, I think this might be a new highlight of my career.
Yeah.
That the two of them were sitting having coffee talking about me, and it all stemmed from me just sort of like that, like we said earlier, that ounce of confidence just to reach out. And it was one of those things like what you were doing with your cold calls. I wasn't, or I don't feel like I'm not trying to sell anybody on anything. Most of the time, it's just out of curiosity. I want to know what it is you do, who you are, where you come from, and I want to hear your story.
Yeah.
And it's been great. It's been a really neat adventure in a lot of ways.
Yeah. No, it's great, especially somewhere like Birmingham too. Like it's such a, like a small but vast network, and just I think in general, like most creatives got to where they are via someone else. Like
Yeah,
nobody just ever had like the best idea ever and had no help and pulled it
right.
all off by themselves and are now the best. But like every part of my career has been like, oh, and then I knew this person and I met this person and that connected me to this thing and it helped me make this thing. And it's just all about finding people that you can learn from and interact with and make things with. I mean, like that spec ad for Liza, like we were just going to production people and being like, hey, like Seth and like Alabama Gripco like let us borrow lights for that. Like he couldn't come help us set up, but like we had worked, all of us had worked with Seth a number of times and like he let us borrow some gear. But it's just it's nice. It's collaborative. It's the best
Yeah.
part.
No, well, it's the best thing about this kind of work is it's again like we were saying earlier, it's the people that you get to do it with. So,
Yeah.
all right, let's ask this, and this is going to wrap up because we are right at that hour
Okay.
now. What's next for you? And I also want to go ahead and sort of proceed into the very final question, which is who inspires you. So, what's next for you, and who inspires you? Those are the last two
Yeah.
questions, and keep in mind we are at right at the hour mark right now. So,
Okay. I mean, honestly, what's next for me is probably more of the same. I really like my job, and it's one of those jobs that like I've been at it for a year and I've yet to hit any sort of wall. The at the moment, the like learning potential for me is pretty like limitless.
mm-hmm.
Um and so I'm just going to try to keep doing different projects. I am going to try to get into more immersive projects this year if I can. That's just always kind of like a timing based thing, but trying to work on like a lot of different projects and work with new people. I'll probably just keep chugging along. There will be creative endeavors that Dustin and Jacob and I will get to if we're ever all in town at the same weekend at the same time, which is the age old issue. But yeah, I'm pretty content with where I'm at right now. So hopefully
we
more of the same.
Yeah, you
um,
seem like you're in a really good spot. And again, like you're it's not like you're sitting idly just doing the same thing every day. The even the very job you're doing and the people you're doing it with is sort of honing your craft and sharpening your skills and expanding your skill set to some degree and even opportunities.
yeah, and I mean I'm a spreadsheet person. I have to make a lot of spreadsheets. I do a lot of like it's a lot of paperwork, but like it's fun. It's nice. You learn a lot about the process. Like that's the thing I've had like I was talking with Sadie Sue and Kafui who run Blue Stocking here. And they were trying to talk to me about VFX, and I was like, I can't help you do any VFX. If you had a team of people who knew how to do VFX, I could really run a smooth post production for you. I was like, I can't actually do any post production for you. But it's fun. I mean, even just like I just started talking with them and have some like personal projects they're going to help me wrap up just because I'm not an editor, and then they just sit on the drive, you know. But um, yeah, I hope I keep making good personal creative work. I'm going to keep trying to do a variety of jobs at my capital J job. But yeah, hopefully more of the same for me.
Nice.
Yeah, who inspires me? Um, is it like cheesy to say everyone? That
I
feels
don't think it's
really
cheesy. I mean, it's. I
feels
mean,
really
I'm.
over the gun.
Well, my kids would say that I am the king of cheesy. So, that's. I mean, dad jokes. I'm a walking dad joke, basically. So,
Yeah.
but no. But who? Tell me this: who that you work with or that you're around sharpens you? Who is? I mean, you've already talked about some people, so you don't necessarily have to go back. I mean, you don't have to do
Yeah.
anything. We can end right now if you want to or if you need to. But I can imagine from the get go, you and Dustin and Jacob, I mean, that group sharpens each other. I mean, I can
Yeah.
only imagine. And then also, I mean, so many of the people that you worked with along the way. Is there somebody that you look at for inspiration as far as like creative inspiration at all?
Um, I don't know. I've just been so fortunate to have so many like different creative friends. I mean, like Kinsley McGuire, she comes to mind. She's a photographer. She works for Disney now, so she lives in Orlando, but she was like a Birmingham photographer for a while, and she has always had like such a great wonderful eye. Like that group of people I was working with in college, like Jannard, Dustin, Kat, Kinsley, like it was such a gift to have so much like concentrated talent in one place to learn from. And like people who were so nice and so willing to like be creative with you. I mean, like when days were slow at Telegraph, Dustin would like teach me how to color in DaVinci. Just, like not a skill I use now, but it was fun. Like,
That's
um,
a good person to have teaching you. Definitely, I need to go through his crash course probably. So
but yeah,
I've
it's
tried to
great.
watch his videos, but I still suck at coloring on DaVinci. But
Yeah, and I mean even like my girlfriend, like she makes TikToks for the plant store in Avondale, and
yeah,
she's an influencer for Lucy and Yak now.
I saw
And
that. I saw the Instagram story that you put out
yeah,
about. Yeah, look, I'm an influencer now. She's already the influencer.
she's like in their actual influencer program, so like she has an affiliate link and like has actual connections with them, but like she wanted to do a shoot, like she needed content to post for them, and she had this yellow jumpsuit and she wanted to go do a shoot, and she wanted to do it at the Rainbow Wall by the train tracks. And so like we went and shot that, and it was fun. It was like they were some of my favorite pictures I had taken in a while. She acts. She's in Rocky Horror right now with the Birmingham Festival Theater. Like even things like, and I don't really act. I did like stand up comedy, like sketch comedy in like high school, but like I don't really act. I'm like bad at makeup. I'm not like a fashion icon. I don't make TikToks, but like all of those things that she does, I like. I like being able to help her out with those. I love being able to support like her different creative endeavors. And like when we get to go do photo shoots and stuff together, she like puts me in a TikTok. I always have a great time.
Oh,
Oh no.
I may
Ah,
have
did I
actually
lose you?
lost. Oh, yeah, there you are. There you are. I was like, I may have actually lost you this time. Sorry. One of my
Okay.
daughters keeps calling me, and that's messing me up on this end too. So, um, well, let me ask one more sort of sum up question that
Yeah.
ties in with the inspires you. Is there one person that you would say this is somebody that you definitely need to talk with in the Birmingham area that is a creative?
I mean, you got to talk to Jacob. You already
I
know that.
do have to talk to Jacob.
You have to talk
I
to Jacob.
want to. That he's on my list
You gotta talk
definitely.
to Jacob. I'm trying to think of who you haven't talked to yet. But yeah, you gotta talk to Jacob. You gotta talk to Eliza Moe, who
Okay.
directed the Last Call Spot. She's great.
Yeah.
She's a fun mind. She has a book
Okay.
club, which I have been reading the books for, but I've never gone. So Eliza, I'm sorry. I really want to go to the book club. I never have time.
All right. Well, I will definitely put the two. Well, like I said, Jacob's already on there, but I will definitely put her as well
Yeah.
on the top of my list as somebody to reach out to soon. Um, well, that's it as far as what I had as far as questions goes. Thank you so much
Of
for
course. Thank
joining me
you.
today. I really did enjoy just hearing your story. I think the stuff that you've been a part of and the stuff that you are currently a part of is just really impressive in general. And the role of producer is one of those things that I think a lot of people don't necessarily understand because it's not as obvious as like camera
Yeah.
operator or even director of photography. Even though that's sort of misguided kind of
Yes.
terminology at least, but I think the skills that are associated with it are still so important in any kind of production. A lot of times, people like me, we end up having to wear all the hats in order to do it, and it's hard for I think just videographers to understand like what is it that these big sets and crews really look like.
Yeah.
So it's neat to hear that all the different elements. I've talked with gaffers, grip. I've talked with camera operators, directors, and producers, and I think it's neat to get sort of a big picture of what all those jobs are.
Yeah. It's great.
So and
Everyone,
this go ahead. Sorry.
if you want to know what a producer is, it's probably different in any situation you've ever been in. But feel please, I want people to like know more about it. I think that that was like I didn't even know that that was like a job you could have outside of like Hollywood when I was in college, and even then I didn't really know what it meant. So I mean, yeah, if you ever want to know what being a producer is, ask a producer because it's fun. It's cool.
Well, and then also just opportunities like the company you currently work for. I mean, I don't think a lot of people understand that places like Frame Store even exist. And then
Yeah.
how do you get to there? I mean, who watches through all the credits to see who did the VFX for that movie or something?
Hey, I
In
will say
commercials, you never see that.
no, you never will in commercials. I had a friend who I went to college with. She was a year older than me. She was in a lot of my journalism classes. And she did that. She watched down all the credits of a Marvel movie and she got in touch with as many people as possible. And she does what I do at Marvel now in California. Um,
That's cool.
so have an ounce of confidence. DM everyone. Talk to everyone. It's
Yeah.
the only way.
Well, social media opens up so many opportunities because
Literally.
people put themselves out there, and then all you have to do is just send them a quick message, and so many times you'll get a reply. I mean, you'll definitely get closed doors at
Yeah.
times, but you never know until you have that ounce of confidence. So,
Yeah. There you go.
well, Madison, thank you so much again. I do appreciate you for taking your time today.
Yeah. Thank you.